Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're continuing our study of Luke's Gospel. We're coming to the end of chapter 6 and the end of the Sermon on the Plain. We're going to look at verse 45 today. But before we do, I want to read something from Matthew's Gospel. It's not from the Sermon on the Mount, and yet it connects directly to the Sermon on the Plain. Some things we've already read, and particularly what we're about to read today. In chapter 15 of Matthew's Gospel, beginning with verse 10, it says, He called to himself the multitude, and he said to them, Hear this and understand it. It's not what enters into the mouth that defiles a man, but what proceeds out of the mouth. This defiles the man. Then the disciples came to him and said, Do you know the Pharisees were offended when they heard this statement? But he answered and said, Every plant which my heavenly Father did not plant shall be uprooted. Let them alone. They are blind guides of the blind. And if a blind man guides a blind man, both will fall into the pit. Something Jesus just said in the Sermon on the Plain, but not in the way he says it there. Peter answered and said to him, Explain the parable to us. And he said, Are you also still without understanding? Do you not understand that everything that goes into the mouth passes into the stomach and then is eliminated? But the things that proceed out of the mouth come from the heart, and those defile a man. For out of the heart come evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witnesses, slanders. These are the things which defile the man, but to eat with unwashed hands does not defile the man. It's not about the washing, it's about the rebellion of the not washing. That comes from your heart, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. Okay. Let's go now to Luke. We're going to just look at one verse today. Luke chapter 6, verse 45. And Jesus uses a similar parable to make a different point in Matthew chapter 12. We didn't look at that today. The good man, out of the good treasure of his heart, brings forth what is good. And the evil man, out of the evil treasure, brings forth what is evil. For his mouth speaks from that which fills the heart. Goodness and evil come from the inside out, not from the outside in. Matthew 23, Jesus compares the scribes and Pharisees to whited sepulchres. On the outside, they're whitewashed, they're painted, they're beautiful. On the inside, they are full of nothing but dead men's bones. And he accuses them of being that spiritually. And Jesus is describing this same phenomenon. If you have good inside you, then what you bring out to share with others will be good. But if you cultivate evil inside you, you don't have good inside you to share with anybody. All you can bring out of your store of possessions is evil, and um, and 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 we have thus a choice to make between good or evil. But it all comes from our hearts. Jesus is going to continue throughout the Gospels and throughout Luke's Gospel to address our hearts. Um, Sometimes the word heart is translated from the word that means your gut, your compassion, but sometimes it is cardia, which means your heart. Um, in the Roman world of the first century, heart didn't mean exactly the same thing it means, although it's similar. Heart more represents will, inner fortitude, um, you know, um, drive, that which drives us, the drive that we have. Is it springing forth from a place of goodness or a place of evil? We usually associate the heart with romance, parental love. Um, there's an enormous amount of love of country, enormous amount of overlap there, but it's not exactly the same thing. But the point is still clear. The goodness that we have inside us is what we have to share. If there's no goodness there but evil, then all we have to share is evil. And God knows the hearts. God knows what's there, and knows which path we have chosen. Okay, we're going to finish up the Sermon on the Plain with the parable of the wise and foolish builder next time. We'll pick up with verse 46. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word.